180,000.
Wow, so that's 100,000 less than it was originally advertised.
Yes.
Right? I think so. This is 4 properties, starting fairly small, building up, none of your own money.
It's that little niggling voice in the back of your head thinking, who would invest in you? Why would anybody, give you money? So it's almost like, my knowledge has brought £150,000
To the table.
almost like an equity into the table,
Yeah.
Don't listen to that voice in your head. It's talking nonsense, you know better, and you can do this. When I walked into the room, went straight into the toilet, and sat in the toilet on my phone, playing a game, playing golf on my phone.
Yeah.
I couldn't face going out and talking to people. It just didn't, it was so much of a struggle.
If you want different results in your life, you need to make a change. You need to be the change. You need to be the catalyst. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Property Magic Podcast, in which we're going to talk about using other people's money. The reality is everybody runs out of money at some point. And so unless you want to stop investing, you have to learn how to use other people's money. However, most people have a real mental mind block about thinking, why on earth would someone lend money to me? And so I'm really pleased that we've got one of our very successful Mastermind graduates, Andy Tattersfield here, who's going to talk to us about some of the projects he's done, which have been done all using other people's money. So welcome, Andy. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, really excited to be here and have a chat with you. So
Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so most of my life was spent in the motor trade, about 23 years. Really enjoyed it, but there just came a point where I needed to change. Left that, went to work with my wife, and then lockdown happened. Had a bit of a tough time, so I needed to make a few changes. So I got up one morning, decided I was going to sell my nice car and invest the money in a van to turn into a camper van.
Right.
And then I decided if I was going to do it to a good standard, then I would need to qualify as a joiner to finish it properly. So I qualified as a joiner, and the day I qualified, the phone just rang off the hook with offers for work. So
Right.
The camper van never got finished.
Oh, really?
But I became a full-time joiner.
So we're doing kitchens and wardrobes and those kind of things. Okay, excellent. So then, so how did you get from that into property? What made you get into property?
Okay, so like I said, the phone started ringing off the hook. One of the first people to call actually was the host of the Berkshire Pin, Stephen Hollings.
Yeah.
And he'd got some single lets in Sheffield. And he just said, look, I knew Stephen before this. I'd got a previous relationship with Stephen through being a business coach.
Yeah.
And Stephen said something really nice actually. He said, I've not seen you smile like that for a long time.
Oh, wow.
You clearly like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Come and do some joinery for me.
Yeah.
So I started with Stephen. And then Stephen introduced me to Paul Hastings, who just happens to be the Sheffield Pin host.
Yeah.
I then became Paul's joiner and go-to handyman.
Yeah.
And it really started there. Paul, being the host of the Sheffield Pin, invited me along, and I started to regularly attend the Sheffield Pin.
Yeah. So when was that? When was your first Sheffield Pin?
First Sheffield Pin was February 2021.
Okay, right. So a few years ago.
A few years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
great. And then obviously you saw lots of other people who were making money in property and probably thought, I want to get some of that. So then you came on Accelerator, a 3-day course. Yeah. And then decided to do Mastermind.
Yeah, so I came on to Mastermind Accelerator in 2023, in the March. Told myself I wouldn't be doing the year-long Mastermind. I just, it just didn't really seem, my mindset. I actually didn't see a way of doing it.
Yes. You mean funding it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So I came on to Mastermind Accelerator, and by the end of it, I was one of the first ones to sign up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the challenges, and I know we've spoken about this, I know you said you're happy to speak on the podcast, it's going to help a lot of people.
Yep.
A lot of people do struggle with the idea of using other people's money.
Yeah.
Right? I know you certainly were in that place.
Yes.
But obviously through Mastermind Accelerator and then obviously Mastermind, your attitude's changed a bit. And tell us how you found, because you've done a number of deals, and we'll talk about them later, but none of them been using your money, have they?
No, correct.
So how did you find that very first investor? I know people want to know that.
Okay, so on Mastermind Accelerator, I was told or advised to get on social media and tell the people what you're doing, which is what I did. Got really excited about it. As much as I say I don't like social media, I quite like being on social media. And a friend, I say a friend, he's more of an associate that I've known maybe 8 to 10 years previous to this.
Yeah.
Just reached out to me on social media and said, I've seen what you're doing, I'm a bit interested.
Okay.
What is it you're up to? And my first thought was, it's going to be difficult for me to explain everything and not sound like a gibbering idiot. So I invited him to Sheffield Pin. I said, come to Sheffield Pin, I'm a helper there. Come and see what's going on and see what type of people I'm working with. So Steve came along, really enjoyed the pin.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like getting a new girlfriend. We were sat going, well, I quite like you, and I quite like you. I'd quite like to work with you, and I'd quite like, shall we work together? Yeah. And it was like going on a first date, but we've got a great relationship.
Yeah, brilliant.
And that's really where it started.
So tell us about the first deal, because it was a very standard, ordinary deal you did, but it was a buy, refurbish, refinance, so get all your money out kind of deal. So let's talk about that, talk about the number. How did you find it? Talk about the numbers as well.
Yeah. So we found that one through the estate agent who was a regular at the Sheffield Pin.
Okay, great.
But
so tapping into your network.
Honestly, when people say your network is your net worth, it comes
so true.
So true.
So true.
So George showed us around a few houses one Saturday, Steve and myself, and then the ones he showed us didn't quite like, but the last one he said, I'll just show. I didn't really plan to share this one. Well, have a look. It was a 170-year-old cottage,
right?
And lovely thing, really nice house. It was on the market or going into auction with a reserve of 130,000. I found the property on Property Filter, looked a little bit about the history of it. We went in with an initial offer of 110.
Yeah.
And eventually we agreed on 120,000.
Okay, so less than it was going to go into the auction for. Okay.
Yep.
Great. And was that because you had that relationship with George and he knew you'd do the deal? Did that all help?
Yeah, that certainly helped. But I also think just knowing a little bit about how long it had been on the market, how many times it had sold previously, understanding, again, looking at the things that I'd learned during Mastermind Accelerator, the type of things to look for. And I suppose a little bit of my limited trade background, you could see that it needed...
The potential. Yeah. Okay. So bought it for 120.
Yep.
How much did you spend on it doing it up, do you reckon?
Just under 40,000.
Okay, so let's call that 160.
Yep.
And then what was the end value of that property?
At 190.
190. Okay. So you're probably able to refinance and get most of the money out?
Most of the money out,
yeah.
We'd have liked all of it, but there was a few little things that, we missed that just put our refurb value up a little bit more.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. So I guess Steve was pretty happy with that first deal.
Yep.
And then you found some more. So let's talk about, just touch on them. So your second deal, what was that?
Second deal was, it's called the Royal Electric. It's a closed down Chinese restaurant. It closed during COVID and never reopened. It started off at 285,000. By the time that we came to look at it, it was on the market for 220. It had a couple of drops in the meantime. Again, these are things that we'd noticed on Property Filter and we saw the history.
Yeah.
Used that really to talk to Chris, the agent, who was working on it with us. And what we found out was we just really looking for the pain point of the vendor, as to how we could best help them. And they were in Hong Kong. They'd moved back abroad where they originally came from. This was one of the last properties they had that wanted to move on. It was just getting broken into. It was a little bit unsafe. So we went in with a cheeky offer of 150,000.
Yeah.
And they came back and asked us if we can come up a touch. And eventually we agreed on 180,000.
Wow, so that's 100,000 less than it was originally advertised for. I think often people see properties online or even on Property Filter and they think, oh, that's too expensive. But if a deal's on Property Filter, it's probably because they're motivated.
Yeah.
And so often you can pay less than the advertised price. So that sounds pretty good. What are you going to do with that former Chinese restaurant?
Right, so it's just over 7,500 square foot on 3 levels. It's a really lovely building. We are wanting to change it into, we're planning to change it into 10 apartments.
Okay, great. And what's the GDV, the gross development value of those?
1 million.
Okay, million. Okay. And what's it going to cost you to do the work, do you reckon?
The cost to do the work is 400,000, but we've got a contingency built in of 450.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so several £100,000 of profit in there, fantastic, which you're going to get half of.
Yep.
And then you're going to rent it out. What was the cash flow from that? Once you refinanced it, got all your money, you'll probably get all your money out from that, probably.
Just a bit, we do believe.
Yeah.
Well, and we think we can maybe get a bit more out, but I think we're quite happy just to get out the
just
money.
Just get your cash back.
Yeah,
so no money left in deal once you've done the refurb.
Yep.
And what do you reckon the profit will be from renting it?
Just under 3,000 a month.
Okay, so in other words, £3,000 profit, infinite return, all your money's back, and you're going to get half of that. not bad for none of your money in, and that's an income for life.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Let's talk about the next deal.
The next deal. Okay, so the next deal is a working man's club in a little village called Wath in Rotherham.
Yeah.
Sadly, it closed down in January. It'd gone insolvent. So that was on the market for 270, and we secured that one at 216,000.
Okay. So good price again. And what do you reckon you could do with that?
With that, between 2 and 4 commercial units downstairs, just because of the size of the rooms and the layout. Upstairs, a 7-bed HMO, and it's got an enormous car park in the back that we believe we can put 6 one-bedroom apartments on it, one-bedroom flats.
Okay. Again, what's the GDV of that development going to be?
GDV of that one, again, is $1 million.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So, and then I know you've got a fourth deal, which we won't go too much, but it's not secured yet. It's at legals, but it's a bank. So this is 4 properties, starting fairly small, building up. None of your own money. And when they're all done, what do you reckon the cash flow is going to be? The total profit each month that you and Steve are going to share?
Of all the 3 major ones, not including the little 2 up, 2 down, approximately 7,500.
Right, fantastic. And then how from when you kind of started your training at Mastermind Accelerator onto Mastermind, what kind of time period are we talking about there? It's about 18 months, 2 years?
18 months, 2 years, yeah.
That's not bad, is it?
No. So
would you say your mind has shifted a little bit?
Somewhat. Yeah, somewhat. It's, so when, we've spoken in the past, know that I've had my doubts. And it's, I suppose really it's that little niggling voice in the back of your head thinking, who would invest in you? Why would anybody, give you money to work with? But I think as each project has come online, it just opens your eyes up to actually just how much I do know.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that you've said right from the very beginning. You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
But because now I know more.
Yeah.
So the type of things that I'm introducing Steve to is things like capital allowance.
Yeah.
So Steve, he'd never heard of it, didn't
really. And he's a successful businessman.
Successful businessman, yeah.
But you were able to teach him something that he didn't know about that's going to make him a lot of money.
On the 3 projects we've got, we've had them assessed by our capital allowance assessor, and it's approximately 150,000.
Yeah.
That we've got an allowance now for next year's tax billets.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that, so it's almost like, my knowledge has brought £150,000
to the table,
almost like an equity into the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Just from some specialist knowledge you've got, which most people don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's another lesson I wanted to pick up. Obviously, Andy, because you've got the ability to go and do the carpentry and that kind of thing, we talked about this, didn't we? And we've had a lot of people who've been trades who comment on our training and they're doing projects and they, I can do that myself. Exactly. We said, no, don't do that. Get someone else. No, but I can do it and I can do a better job than other people. I don't want to pay other people. Can we talk around that a little bit? Because it's
do we have to?
Yeah, we do. For everyone's benefit. It's a great learning.
Oh, goodness me. Look at these fingers. These are the fingers of a broken joiner.
And these are things that haven't done a day's work in their life,
So, you're right. Right from the get-go, you always said, don't do the work yourself. It's a false economy. And, of course, I listened to everything he said and completely ignored it.
Yeah, of course.
Apologies.
Like most people do.
It won't happen again. And started to do it myself. At one point, it felt good. I quite enjoyed it. It felt quite creative. But now, I just wish I'd not done it. I really do. It's
what I call I think there's several reasons, and I love your input on this. I think part of it is the costs versus value mindset. So you think, well, why would I pay someone else to do it when I could do it myself and I don't have to pay, and I'll do a better job. So I get that. But the point is not seeing the value. No. The value of having someone else doing it frees up your time so you can go and find more deals. Because if you're stuck there on the tools, you're not looking for more properties.
Yeah. So while I was counting the pennies, it was costing me pounds.
Absolutely.
And I looked at, it was 4,000 estimate to fit the kitchen. I think, well, that's 4,000 I can save. Yeah. But actually, when you look at the time I spent doing it and what it's taken me away from, it's cost me way more than that, for sure. Yeah. And
so it's a really valuable lesson. So thank you so much for allowing us to share that. and Andy, I would love to get, because obviously you've been really successful, and particularly because you really doubted anyone in any way, but you just, on Mastermind we have the expression, trust the process. You just did what we told you to do. Maybe not always at first, but eventually you did it. And I was so pleased that your life's been changed by this. what are some words of advice or wisdom you'd give other people, whether they're new to property or they may be experienced to just run out of their own cash? What advice would you give those people?
My first bit of advice would be, don't listen to the voice in your head. It's talking nonsense. You know better, and you can do this.
And we all have those voices in our head, all of us.
So, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
The second bit of the advice would be network. What's happened to me through just networking, I can't tell you the value that's come from it. A nice thing now is, people call me Mr. Networker,
right,
amongst other things. But that's quite, because it's one of my favourite things, and I think it comes out in my wealth dynamics as a star creator, supporter. I'm always looking to join people together, and I think when you bring people together without your benefit in mind and it's about them, actually good things happen to you anyway.
Definitely.
It always comes back.
That good karma you put out comes back. And I think a lot of people get the idea of networking wrong because they think they have to go and, right, who can I meet? Who can I sell to? Well, that's not the idea. No. The idea is to go, connect with people, get to know them. And if they've got a problem, if you can help them, you can introduce, that's what networking is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just about the people in the room. It's about their networks and who they know.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And when you put stuff out there and go with the intention of trying to help people, I think you're right. I think people start to know you, get to like you, reciprocation builds up, and then things just come back to that.
Yeah, and an interesting thing is my very first PIN meeting, I was so nervous that when I walked into the room, went straight into the toilet and sat in the toilet on my phone, playing golf on my phone.
Yeah.
I couldn't face going out and talking to people. It just didn't, it was so much of a struggle.
And I really thank you for sharing that, Andrew, because I think a lot of people struggle with that in terms of most people don't like the idea of going somewhere and having to talk to a bunch of strangers, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure you would agree, having now experienced that, particularly at PIN meetings, we try and welcome new people and introduce them to people. And you don't have to make small talk about random things because everyone there's got an interest in property, and some are completely new, some are experienced, but hopefully everyone has got this common theme, which is about making money through property. Yeah. So it's actually quite easy to talk to people, isn't it? Yeah, because
when I plucked up the courage to come out of the toilet and venture out, one of the PIN team just introduced himself, spoke to me. Yeah. And just put me in touch, introduced me to somebody else. Yeah. And then conversation started. And that was it. It just, you start to feel a bit more comfortable. And actually, the people there, especially when you find out you're quite new as well, they're more interested in you than what you are in them. Yeah. And what they can help you with.
Yeah. And I think also, it's something that builds up over time, isn't it? Because you're not going to meet everyone on your first time you go. Nope. So it's about committing to go to your regular meeting, whether it's a PIN meeting or another property network meeting, but commit to go on a regular basis. Yeah. Turn up early, plan to leave late so you can really spend that time. And importantly, when you meet the people there, it's not just about meeting there, it's about the follow-up afterwards, isn't it? Yeah. It's about having a coffee with them or a Zoom call with them, because I believe property is all about relationships, it's all about people, so you need to get to know people over time. Yeah. So brilliant. Okay, so and let's talk briefly about social media as well, because we teach everyone to get onto social media, to talk about what you're doing, to put the before and after pictures. Also the fact that you're educating yourself and you're networking, because you will have people within your network who don't know that you do property. Yeah. And by putting it on social media and doing that consistently, there are people who are kind of interested, who might have money like Steve, who want to get involved, but unless you let them know what you're doing, they're never going to contact you, right? Yeah,
yeah. So, social media for me, I use LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I still find it a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah. But the value from it's just the price of that little bit of pain just to do something and feel a bit uncomfortable. What's actually coming back from that? It's just well worth it.
I think that's one of the reasons why you're successful, though, Andy, because you're prepared to put yourself outside of the comfort zone, have a little bit of short-term pain because you know the benefits. I think too many people are just content with doing what they always do and they're always going to get the same results. Yeah. And if you want different results in your life, you need to make a change. You need to be the change. You need to be the catalyst. Yeah. And so you've got to do simple things. I mean, posting on social media is not difficult. Going to a network meeting is not difficult, but many people are not prepared to step outside their comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then in terms of actually working with a joint venture partner, obviously you knew Steve from a number of years ago. Obviously, you recognised you liked each other, you'd gone on. What else did you do to develop that relationship to the point where you trusted each other enough to work with each other? Because that's really important. Is you've got to have complete trust. You've got to get on with the person, be able to work with them through good and bad times, because things go wrong in property. Have you got any tips about how you built that relationship or what you did? Or was it just over time? Or
certainly time helps. But I just think really it's just regular engagement. Steve comes to the pin meetings with me. It doesn't come as many as what I do because he's got with his business at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's worked on the small project with me. We've done that together. That's in a way, you know, it's a bit of a double-edged sword really doing that. We know we shouldn't have done the work because of the cost factor, you know, but actually working together has been really useful. So we spent quite a few days together, you know, either fitting the kitchen or cleaning brickwork.
Pass me the hammer.
As you do. But I think that's really cemented us. You know, that's really helped for sure.
Yeah, okay, I get that. Brilliant. And would you have one final word of advice for anybody who's wanted to get into property, or somebody who's a bit stagnating? What would they do? Any tips?
Get educated. Definitely get educated. You know, find a property meeting. You've always said, you know, it doesn't have to be PIN. I mean, I'm pinned.
Of course, it should be PIN, but there are other good ones as well, right?
You know, I get different things from different meetings.
Yes,
but
because different people go to different meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different meetings are run in different ways.
Absolutely.
So my recommendation is go and check out PIN, go and check out other non-PIN ones as well, and just go to the ones you resonate with, right?
Yeah. So I go to PIN regularly because I feel it matches my personality and my values.
Yeah.
And that's really important to me. But, you know, just get out there and meet people. You know, if you feel like you're stagnating, people do want to talk to you. People are interested in people who haven't got a property. They're just getting into it. It doesn't matter if you've got a £10 million portfolio, you know, or you're getting started. Someone will want to talk to you. Someone will want to pass some knowledge on to you, you know, and just help you move forward in your journey.
Fantastic. Great advice there. And so what I recommend you do is in the show notes, description, if you're watching the video, below the video, it's going to be a link to PIN meetings. And if you use my surname as a voucher code, you can come to your very first one for free. So go and check those out if you haven't done it. If you've been before, you know how good they are. Go and book for your next one. And also, I'm going to be doing some online training all about using creative finance, how to use other people's money and strategy where you don't have to use a lot of your own cash. So click on the link for that as well to come and join me on that online training. I think it will really help you. So Andy, thank you so much for coming along and spending the time here. I'm sure this has been really inspiring and really helpful to other people. So thank you so much. And as ever, I encourage everyone to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. Now, if you're watching the YouTube video, please do come and like the video. It helps the algorithms, more people are going to be able to find it. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime we bring out a new video. So thanks so much for watching. Check the links below and I'll see you on the next video.